Hey everyone and welcome back, it is Daki and thank you so much for joining me on this video and coming back to my channel. So we're going to take some time and look at some class and spec abilities. Now I understand and I know that it's beta and there are going to be changes. We do understand this and I'm going to take that into consideration. However, I'm going to be looking at Wowhead here and having a look at the specific changes done to these classes and specs and how it's going to be looking, or how it's going to look like in Battle for Azeroth. So a lot of these changes here, don't just take it with a grain of salt. There are going to be a fair chunk of damage changes and changes, just adjustments to the spec as time goes on. But this is going to give you a highlight of what it will look like. So right now we're going to start with the Outlaw Rogue. The Outlaw Rogue for me has been nothing but fun and fantastic gameplay ever since it came out in Legion. Now, I say that it came out in Legion because it was commonly called the Combat Rogue back in previous expansions. Now what they've done for Legion is they've turned it into this class fantasy type of spec, and I liked the direction they were going for. But as we'll see, they've taken a little bit of a step back with this as Battle for Azeroth comes through. So let's stop rambling on, let's just have a look at the class changes, the talents, and just some sort of summary about what we're going to expect in Battle for Azeroth. So as we move down here, we can see that Bribe has been removed, and you can see a lot of these damage modifiers. Guys, this is probably due to the stat squish and just how they're going to balance everything in Battle for Azeroth. This is just wholly and solely to make everything competitive. Now, as we move through, we do see one of the bigger changes here to our class and spec, which is Blade Flurry. Now, guys, Blade Flurry is now on a 25-second 25-second recharge rate. It is a ability now. It is not a toggle that it has been in previous expansions, including Legion. Now, basically, you just toggle it on, or sorry, you activate it for a 12-second cooldown for 12 seconds, and what happens is you can just generally do your AoE from your single target rotation. Once that has ended, you can use a second charge, or finish him off with single target. But it has a 25-second recharge rate, so this it's nor good nor bad here, guys. It depends on how you play your Outlaw Rogue now. Depends how you're gonna perceive this. Now, moving down through all of this, this is basically all, well, virtually all the same, except for when we start getting to this one right here, which is Dispatch. Now, Dispatch is commonly called, well, is called Run Through now in Legion, and it's just changed its name in Battle for Azeroth. It does the same thing. You generate combo points, you finish them off, and as it says right down here, name change from Run Through to Dispatch. Same sort of thing. And now you see the second lot of changes to the name changes, which is Sinister Strike. Now, Sinister Strike was also called Saber Slash, as you can see down here. Name change from Saber Slash to Sinister Strike. As you can see, they've taken a slight step back from the Buccaneer, piratey styled rogue, as we've seen in Legion, to this Sinister Strike Dispatch rogue that we see now. Don't get too caught up on the name changes, guys. It is simply just a name change. All of these green text here, they are just adjustments to the damage modifiers, and that is just because of the stat squish. Now, we're going to have a look at the BFA talents in a second, but we're just going to move down to what has been removed from the spec. Now, as you can see, Anticipation has been removed. Spell number 185767 has been removed. I can't remember what this was, but oh no, Cannonball Barrage, if I hover over it, there you go. So Cannonball Barrage has been removed, Death from Above has been removed, Parley has been removed, Grappling Hook now has not been removed, but now moved to baseline. These abilities that have been removed are abilities that were never really taken in Legion, so there's no point in keeping them around if you never really used them. So Blizzard have said, let's get rid of them. In their stead, what has come through is an ability called Dancing Steel, Blade Rush, Blinding Powder, Loaded Dice, and Retractable Hook. Now, these are all the new talents that are quite frankly taking over from the talents that have been removed. So we're going to jump across and have a look at the BFA talents right now, because there's not a lot more to say than there's just a couple of swap positions, as you can see here. A lot of damage modifiers that have been adjusted. So let's have a quick look at the BFA talents, and as you can see, there is a lot that look very similar, and there's a couple that have stayed the same, but there's also a couple of new ones in here. So let's go through this real quick. Weapon Master, it's the same with a new name. Quick Draw, exactly the same, and Ghostly Strike, exactly the same. The only difference here, guys, is that Ghostly Strike is now on a 35-second cooldown. You can't spam Ghostly Strike. And what that stops people doing is it stops putting onto multiple targets. It also stops you using it in a rotation, which is a wasted of energy. So they've put that on a cooldown. Acrobatic Strikes, exactly the same. Retractable Hook, basically it just reduces the cooldown of Grappling Hook. It is not Grappling Hook anymore. Hit and Run, which increases your movement speed by 15% at all times, exactly the same. Now as we move down to level 45, you see Vigor, Deeper Stratagem, and Marked for Death. Now, these are all the same, however, Marked from Death has been moved from a level 100 talent up to a level 45 talent. And that is because the level 45 talents here, guys, directly impact the way you generate or basically gather combo points. So Vigor increases the maximum energy and increases the energy regeneration, which directly helps with combo point generation. Deeper Stratagem is Deeper Stratagem, and Marked for Death instantly generates your 5 combo points from a 1 minute cooldown, and it also resets itself if that mob dies within that 1 minute. So let's also have a look at the level 60 talents, and you can see they're pretty much the same. Iron Stomach is the same, Elusiveness is the same, and Cheat Death is the same. So still no difference here, guys. 75, Dirty Tricks, it does... oh yeah, Sap and Cheap Shot and Gouge do not cost energy anymore. Blinding Powder, now this is one of the new ones, and it reduces the cooldown of Blind by 30 seconds and increases its range by 15 yards. Could be something to CC and keep crowd control onto quite a lot of mobs here, guys, so pretty good. Prey on the Weak. Enemies disabled by your Cheap Shot take 10% increased damage from all sources for 6 seconds. Personally, I've never used any of these type of abilities. I've always stayed with Dirty Tricks or Blinding Powder here, guys, but we'll see how we go. Now, as we move through, the only change on this row here, Slice and Dice is the same, these guys are the same, Loaded Dice is one of the new ones, which is activating Adrenaline Rush causes your next Roll the Bones to generate or grant at least 2 matches. Now, this was baked into the spec in Legion, and they've taken that out of the weapon and placed it into a talent. I think this is cool. This stabilizes a little bit of your rotation, and you should always be using Adrenaline Rush before you use Roll the Bones. Now, this decreased the RNG-ness of the spec and increased the the amount of or chance that you've got to generate awesome buffs from your Roll the Bones. Now moving down to a level 100 talents. Now this is where it becomes really fun, and this is where you can really play with your spec and you know how you like to play your spec. So Dancing Steel, okay, increases the duration of Blade Flurry by 3 seconds and its damage by 5. Now remember, Blade Flurry now is on a cooldown, so this is a passive. You hit your Blade Flurry, instead of 12 seconds, you get that extra 3 seconds and you get that extra 5% damage. If you're doing a lot of AoEing, and you're going to be using Blade Flurry quite a lot, Dancing Steel seems to be a cool talent to tank if you like the passive. Now, Blade Rush, now this is where it gets interesting. Blade Rush has a 45-second cooldown. Now, you charge at your enemy with blades out, dealing a certain amount of damage, and damage to all nearby targets from the target you use it on. While Blade Flurry is active, damaging non-primary targets is increased by 100%. For a level 45 talent, a 45-second cooldown, it doesn't seem too bad. But here's the thing: doesn't it seem a bit like Death from Above and Fell Rush from the Demon Hunters baked into one little spec, one little talent, and it really does seem like that. I think that this is a really, really, really cool ability, or talent I should say, to use, and I think it would look really good in BFA, and I would really love to try this out and see how it goes. Killing Spree is Killing Spree, it's always going to be Killing Spree, and it's still got that 2-minute cooldown. I think to make Killing Spree a little bit more competitive, it needs to be down at a 1-minute cooldown or a 45-second cooldown to compete with your talents like your Blade Rush or your Dancing Steel. It just seems like a 2-minute cooldown on Killing Spree is a bit too long. I would love to see this at a 1-minute cooldown, to be quite honest. So guys, this is a very quick video, it's just going to cover the basis of the specs, just to give you a quick highlight of what is going on in BFA, what has been removed, what is going to be added to the spec. And I think looking at the actual Outlaw Rogue now, I don't think we're going to see bad changes as such. A lot of people are, and if I go back to this page here, a lot of people are a little bit upset over the new blade flurry change being on an active cooldown now versus a toggle on and off. I don't think this is a bad thing at all, guys. I think that having this on a cooldown makes you think about and preparing for an AoE situation rather than just flicking it on and using it until all the mobs are dead and then turning it off for the boss fight. So all in all, how are we going to look at the Outlaw Rogue in BFA? Well, I think it's still going to be an extremely fun spec. I think it's going to be used in a lot of world content, even in a lot of Mythic Plus content. I don't see it being at the top end of the Mythic Plus scale, nor do I see it being at the pinnacle of raiding content. But for a spec and a class just to jump in, have some quite some fun, go from mob pack to mob pack with no pre-setup, basically, no needing to stealth and jump in. I think this spec really works and it flows. The slight step back from the Buccaneer pirate style fantasy that Blizzard have gone for in Legion, I think this is a good step as well. So guys, leave a comment down in the section down below and let me know what you think of the Outlaw Rogue. Quite frankly, I think it's a good change, or the changes are good, and I'd really love to see how this plays in Battle for Azeroth. Guys, I'd also like to point out that I do have a Discord, and the Discord link is in the description down below, so please join that Discord. Come and chat. We are generally there all the time. Throw in some comments. That is fantastic. And guys, until next time, have a great day. See you then.